Hello, everyone, and welcome to the season finale, season 1 of the Around the Ballpark podcast, episode 30. Super exciting that we're reached 30 episodes already so far, and we are here to talk about a team, the Tampa Bay Rays, that are an exciting ball club. We have on with us my wife, Eileen, who's been on a couple times before, diehard Tampa Bay Rays fan, and we have honored to have Bushman as well. Glad to have you. If you'd like to kind of introduce yourself and a little bit about you and that sort of thing.
Sure. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Yeah, my name is Bushman. I'm one of the hosts of the Rays Rewind podcast. I always have to say this during my show. It's the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. We have new shows every week. You can find us at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind on the Sick Media Network on our YouTube page, and then you can find me on Twitter at the Bushman. So yeah, been a diehard fan since 1998, since the inception. I've been going since was in middle school when tickets were $3 and there was dollar draft nights for Friday nights up in the beach area, which is no longer there. It's the party deck now. So yeah, been going for a while. The ebbs and flows of a baseball team that goes, they were really bad and then they were really good and they've been really good, and this year's been kind of frustrating so far.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thanks for having me.
You
they
want that
start
4
doing really good, and then you get so excited because you're like, "Yeah, that was a good game," and then the next game is like, "Wow."
We discussed that a lot on my show, where it's like, hey, they get a nice little run, and then it's crap again. So it's the identity of this team has been frustrating about who they are, and hopefully going into the All-Star break, they can figure that out and go on a run and get in the mix of the third or the final wild card spot. So we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah,
yes.
So I'm excited to dive into all that. So before I do, I will go ahead. I just want to shout out to our sponsor. We're grateful. They've been supporters from us since the beginning. Nashville Tax Solutions. Thank you so much for your support on this channel. We've had Chris Bennett on before. We'll have him on again. Just a great individual. Whether you need to file years of missing returns, a current year return, or just need relief from a tax lien or levy, Nashville Tax Solutions has the solution for you. Nashville Tax Solutions, we understand the stress and confusion that tax problems can bring. That's why we're here to offer clarity, relief, and peace of mind. Our expert team here at Nashville Tax Solutions and tax professionals are dedicated to providing personalized solutions tailored to your unique situation. Listen to just what some people have said about Nashville Tax Solutions. Recently had the pleasure of working with Christopher Bennett, owner of Nashville Tax Solutions, and I must say his knowledge and expertise in tax matters is truly impressive. His professionalism and attention to detail were evident throughout our interactions, and I felt confident and supported every step of the way. Nashville Tax Solutions have saved myself and others from financial nightmares. They're not just experts in tax resolution, they're compassionate too. Don't let tax problems weigh you down. Call Nashville Tax Solutions today and let them guide you toward a brighter financial future. Call Nashville Tax Solutions 615-502-2250. Check out their website at nashvilletaxsolutions.com or send an email to info@nashvilletaxsolutions.com where tax resolution is achieved. And so again, thank you, Chris. He's been on. Fun fact with Chris, he was on. He's a Yankee fan. He was actually a former bat boy for the Dodgers when they would have their spring training in Vero Beach. I'm actually located, my wife and I, in the Palm Bay area, so just about 20 to 25 minutes north of Vero Beach. And I miss that area. It's such a good ballpark to go to. When you go to a spring training game, there were bleachers and you were like, just right there on the field. It was just a great place to catch a game. So I miss it. So many of those teams, those Florida teams, kind of got taken away from us to the West Coast. And so we go to Tampa as often as we can, so anyway, so as we start to dive into this, the first thing I would love to chat about, just the current state of the 2024 Tampa Bay Rays. We talked about it a little earlier, but it's a team that we just want to have a winning streak of, let's just see that 4 to 5 game streak. Let's see what could happen. Unfortunately, right now we get that, okay, things are turning around, and then we just had that dud of a game. I really feel like, and I'll start with you. I said this to you the other day, but right now they're in a crucial period. These next 2 weeks is so important because if they can win 2 out of every 3 games moving forward, then they're going to be a position where they can either, I feel like they're not going to be buyers. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever be buyers, but they'll either stay or they will fold. And I feel like to accomplish that, where they are, they're still quite a few games back, but close enough. You know, they have to win 2 out of 3 games. Do you see this as a team 2 weeks from now that can they accomplish that, or do you feel like by the end of that 2 weeks, they're going to be a team that is going to unfortunately have to let some pieces go?
Were you asking me or him? I'm sorry.
Yeah, start with you,
Me?
and then yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 games, and I know that I'm pretty sure I saw that there is the Red Sox. Are they coming up next? Is that who their next series is against?
I'd have to look at the schedule. I believe it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And I know they're a pretty tough team to beat right now. And so like it's been so streaky. Like I honestly have no predictions, like, because it's been so weird. Randy is finally getting back up there with his home runs, though, finally. So, you know, between that and maybe like, you know, I know they got Brandon Lau back and he seems really healthy. So if he could stay healthy, if a Rosarina could still keep hitting good, I know Caballero's up there too. I love my little Jose. He's a great little baseball player. But I think their biggest hurdle is going to be having consistent pitching. If they have consistent pitching, they're going to be able to get that wild card. I think that's going to be their biggest hurdle.
I think looking at this team coming out of the All-Star break, and it's actually they have a 4-game set against the Yankees in New York City, and then they have a nice 3-game stretch against the Toronto Blue Jays, which shouldn't be that bad. But I think coming out of the All-Star break, it's really having that momentum, and you know, winning another series today against the Cleveland Indians that's kind of like a really boosted morale going into the break, because now you don't have to worry about, okay, we're on a losing streak, we're not playing that great. You know, the past, other than the Rangers series, they've been playing pretty good baseball, which is a good sign going into the second half, and that's something that I think the front office has to really look at to see if they're going to be buyers. And I think they're going to be buyers and sellers. They're going to be both. And I said this on my show a few times, where it kind of depends on where they're at by the trade deadline. If they're around 500, a little bit above, or staying around it, you know, maybe if they're a couple of games below 500 or not, they're going to be buyers and sellers. And we've already seen it already with them selling a few pieces away with Aaron Savali and then Phil Matten. But with those pieces being sold, they were 2 pieces that weren't performing that well. They were taking up a lot of money too on the payroll too as well. So that frees up, you know, opportunities for, we saw Shane Baz come up. Baz has been looking pretty good the past couple of starts. And then you've got Jeffrey Springs coming back and Drew Rasmussen coming back too as well. The thing they have to look at is, since Springs is coming back, his rehab starts, I think this past week or the week after next, is who are we going to be letting go come trade deadline, because you have to make a spot for that 40-man roster. And that's really something I hope the front office can look at is, okay, we've got a plethora of arms that I'm sure people are going to be calling about. And also we've got some star players who are making lots of money. And Eileen, you know, the Rays don't like to pay people. So
right, I know.
There may be
doing good. It's like they get rid of them because they can't pay them anymore. They don't want to. And it's just like a farm ground for
and I look
and leaving.
and the names that have been floating around, obviously Zach Eflin's been one of those names, and Yandy and Randy and Bilal. The only one of those guys, maybe Zach Luttrell too, because he's been pitching pretty good for the Rays other than last night's game. But some of those names that everybody thinks is going to maybe go, like, you know, the Yandys of the world and the Randys and the Bilaus, they may stay put. And they may just make a couple of small moves, which the Rays are known to do, make a couple of small moves, and then go from there. Because you look at the core now, and looking towards 2025, if they do decide, you know what, we're not gonna be in this at come playoff time, we're gonna be out, they can look ahead to 2025 and reload and say, okay, we've got all these guys coming back for 2025 for our rotation. Our rotation is gonna be sick. Our rotation is gonna be one of the top rotations in the league right now with all these guys coming back. When it comes to the offensive side, and the offense has been atrocious this year, their run differential has been one of the worst in the league, is they have to look at how can we reload on the offensive side. So if they're looking to maybe move some people, they've got to get back some bats. And for God's sakes, get a catcher in one of these deals if they're going to make any kind of trade moves. So it's really all about the decisions of what Eric Neander and the rest of the guys in the front office are going to do by the deadline. But I think they're going to be both. I think they're going to be buyers and sellers. at the trade deadline.
Both. Yeah, I can see that. I feel like love to know what Alex Jackson's secret is to stay on that roster.
Hey, he had a multiple hit game yesterday,
Yes.
so I don't know. Maybe he's starting to heat up again.
Maybe.
It was wild. If you had any prop bets on him, I'm sure you were cashing in because of his multiple hit game. It was pretty crazy.
That's true.
I read an article that in the article I read that a lot of teams are looking at a Rosarina right now. What do you think the probability of him actually getting traded is? Because I would be really sad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would too, and especially the marketing department and for the Rays because of Randy Land and all the marketing that they've done for him. So I don't know. I'm so on the fence about if he's going to be moved or not. And I don't want him to go because I think his this year for him has been really bad, and I know it's been kind of like a disappointment for him. He's starting to hit a little bit better and everything, but it hasn't been the consistent Randy that we know, and we all know Randy as Rays fans. He's really streaky when it comes to hitting. If the Rays were looking to let him go in a trade, they'd really have to get the maximum value out of him. Now he's been playing really good as of lately, so they can maybe shoot their shot and get a couple of good prospects for him. I don't know. I think Randy stays because he's under team control until 2026, so they don't really have to move him. It's just all about, hey, do we save him for next year and see if he turns it around, or if the offer that's going to be made to us at the deadline for him is it too good to be true to maybe let him go? So I think that's something they really have to think about. I don't want him to leave. He's so fun to sitting in Rainy Land's so fun. It's so fun to be in there. And then when the whole standing ovation thing happened, which my show was the culprit of that. We were the ones that created the standing ovation.
Oh, really? Are you serious? Yeah. Were you there?
I was actually, on that night too. Yeah, and when he hit the home run, I was 2 or 3 rows in front of it when the ball landed. So I was there that night to make sure everybody was doing the standing ovation. So it was a pretty.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it was a pretty special night. So I just think the Rays might hang on to him, but it's got to be an offer that they like, and the Godfather, but they can't refuse. They've got to really look at these offers because there's a lot of these guys that they might want to bring back. Because they don't really have to move these guys. They don't have to. I mean, unless these offers are just so, hey, we need a pitcher. Zach Eflin's making $14 or $18 million next year. We know you guys don't want to pay him that much. Here's an offer that's really good for you guys because you guys have so much pitching coming back. Maybe I think Eflin, out of all those guys, Eflin's probably the top guy that's probably going to go in a trade. Randy, maybe not so much.
I feel like Randy, no matter what happens with him, he's the foundation to this team, and until further amount of time says otherwise, he's the one guy you can't move. You can, if you had to move hate to say that, if you had to move a Josh Lau, even if you had to move a Paredes, if you had to, there's ways around.
Paredes. No,
I don't want to either, but I'm saying
Paredes not going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't want him to go anywhere either.
I don't think so.
I don't want him to, but I feel like Randy's the guy. He's the foundation. Like he's the identity of this team. But you said is absolutely right about how sick this pitching rotation can be. So I'm a diehard Mets fan and Tampa Bay fan is number 2 because supporting the wife and everything. But
he had no choice.
I think back to many years ago when at the time the projected rotation for the Mets at the time, it was Matt Harvey, we had Syndergaard, we had Jacob deGrom, we had Steven Matz, and we had Wheeler. And they never got an opportunity to pitch 5 consecutive days in a row because there was always somebody injured. But you look at even removing, like you said, Eflin from the mix, and I know he may not start the season, Shane McClanahan, but you look at a rotation, which 4 of the guys aren't even, 3 aren't even on the roster, but you could have Shane McClanahan, Shane Baz, Taj Bradley, Drew Rasmussen, and Jeffrey Spring. So
and you got Ryan Pepio too.
Yeah, you've
got a stable of arms that going to a 5-man or even a 6-man rotation is possible for this team. The thing that really hurts the Rays the most is their bullpen. They need more arms in the bullpen, and there's so much you can rely on for Pete Fairbanks and for Jason Adams. Jason Adams has been lights out the past couple of months too, but you need more guys in that bullpen that's really going to help them out if they're going to make a run for the playoffs. If they're going to make a run for the playoffs, I think the main target they've got to look at is we need bullpen help, and then we need offensive help. Those are the 2 areas that they need to look at going into the trade deadline. And that
it's just nice though. In a perfect world, you have those 10 arms we just mentioned. Like, hey, bullpen, if you don't step it up, we're going to throw 5 of these guys for the first 5 innings, and we'll throw the other 5 for the last 4.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
Like I'm like salivating right now thinking about 2025 because think of that rotation all healthy all at once. Like that is the one of the scariest rotations to go and face, especially in the AL East now, where Baltimore is really good now. The Yankees, the Yankees somehow are just the Yankees, and even though they've been playing like crap, they're still in it as well. Boston has been, I think, a little bit better than what everybody thought they were going to be. And then obviously with Toronto being in the cellar right now, they really have to make some moves to make their team a little bit better. But going into 2025, I'm always on Twitter. I'm always looking at what race fans say, and especially what the guys say in the market for radio. And they're all like, hey, if we decide to be sellers and decide to wave the white flag, there's hope next year. There's hope to be contenders because of just the amount of talent that we have coming back. It gets you excited about it. Like if we had this show maybe a month, if I had my guest appearance on your show maybe a month ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, they're sellers all day. I'm done with this team. Like I'm waiting for 2025 to happen. But now, since they've been winning series after series, excluding the Rangers one, listen, do a major league moment. Go make a run for it. Like I'm all for it. Like go make the moves you have to make to make a run for the postseason. It'd be a nice feel good story. I tell you that. And it would give a lot more people like, hey man, this team's no joke. And all the doubters out there that have been like hating on the team the past couple months, myself included, because I was I've been really critical of this team too as well. It would make me eat my own words, and I love that. I love it when a team, especially my team that I love to watch and love to root for, makes me eat my words, because now you're going to make a run for the playoffs. So I hope it's exciting. Next couple of weeks, it's my favorite time of the year in Major League Baseball, because that's when the funny trades happen. That's when teams get better and teams look forward to next year.
Yeah. And you look at what Arizona accomplished last season to be able to get as far as they were in the position they were in. I think not only was it great, but it really solidified like, hey, we're not watering down playoff spots here. Like I know some people like, how many other teams can get in? Yes, I don't think we should add anymore. But right now, like, it's meaningful baseball being played. There's I think in the National League, all but 3 teams, maybe even 2, have a legit chance at this time to get on a decent run. They can make it outside of Colorado and Miami. But so it's exciting to have more teams, and that's really all Tampa's got to do is just get that there.
The craziest part about this is even though the Rays are at 500 right now, even when they were underneath 500, they were still in the mix. They were only 3 games out of that third wild card spot, which is it was mind blowing to me, because I would look at the standings. I'm like, wow, they're under 500, but they're still like they're still a stone throws away of like being in this, and they still are. I mean, there's only a couple teams above them. I think they're only 4 or 5 games out right now. So I look at the second half as now a brand new season. You're coming into the second half, go make a run, because all the teams that were hot in the first half, a lot of those they fire, they're flame out, and then this is a good chance for teams like Tampa to catch fire and be good in the second half. I'd rather have a team catch fire in the second half than they were in the first half.
One thing I like to talk about a lot is with the Dodgers, was for as accomplished as they've been, always there time and time again, they stop playing meaningful baseball at the beginning of September, and then the team gets in and does some damage to them in the playoffs, and it happens time and time again. So I agree. I'd rather be the hot team. Yep. Yes, you got to get in, but I'd rather be that hot team in August. September.
I mean, look what the Rangers did last year.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. So it can happen.
Yeah, and I'm excited, like, with the Mets being the way they are right now. Like, you look at Houston and the Mets a month ago were in the cellar, and now here we are. They have the 2 best records.
Yeah, but Houston always does this, though. Houston
they always show up.
Yeah, they always show up at like when they're supposed to show up.
They're
always.
That's what I hate about Houston.
Never fails.
Like rec league softball or whatever. They're like that top team that kind of let you think you have a chance, and you start scoring a couple of runs. You're like, oh, this could be the time, and then they,
I tell you what, though, I am kind of rooting for the Mets because of what happened last year with all the money that Cohen spent on your team, and then just I'm done with it. I'm done with it. We're making trades, we're selling everybody, and then just to kind of turn it around this year, not spend any money, but the way you guys have stayed in it, and the way you pretty much brought everybody back that you brought back. And to go through what you guys did through all the turmoil last year, to be in it and be one of the hottest teams in baseball, I'm kind of rooting for the Mets, because the Mets are kind of that lovable team in New York that We don't really hate. We only hate one New York team, and that's the Yankees. So when it comes to the Mets, you kind of want to cheer for them because they're those lovable idiots that that are in New York.
And even the Yankee fans sometimes hate the Yankees. So
yeah, dude. If you're a Yankees fan, you hate your life, even when they're doing good and when they're doing bad. Like they just want to complain about the dumbest little things. So when they lose and they've been losing the way they have, the Yankees fans are just the most uptight, just complaining people. Oh, we should have Boone fired. You should fire Boone. He's a terrible manager. I think he complains about everything. But it makes me feel like Christmas Day every single morning when the Rays beat them too. So when the Rays beat the Yankees, it's like a Christmas morning for me because it's so nice.
Yes, it's so satisfying. I'm like, yes, get them.
There's nothing that brings me joy is when I go to the Trop for the Yankees Rays series and the Rays just pound the Yankees and all those Yankees fans are just miserable and they have to walk back to their cars, or they go to Ferg's and they just drink their sorrows away, and then they try to come up with the excuse, we've won 27 championships. Yeah, your last one was what, more than 15 years ago? Like, you guys got to stop living in the past and live in the now. So
yeah, Mr. 86 Mets.
I'm just so glad I have it on DVD and not VHS, because if I had on VHS, I would have worn the tape out by now. But so kind of segueing into, we've talked about the offense, we've talked about pitching staff, but just Tropicana Field as a whole. One of the things I like to talk about here on the show a lot of times is just different stadiums and different perspectives. Yeah. And so, aside from Tropicana Field's architectural brilliance that it is, I
tell you what, I'm one of those people that enjoys going to the Trop, and I've been going since the beginning. And you're lucky you have me on the show, because we don't talk about it on my show. We kind of made it a rule. We don't talk about the stadium on my show because it's just the same song and dance we've heard for the past like 10, 15 years. But, oh, we're going to get a stadium done. Oh, we're going to do this. Yeah. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to break. It's like, until I walk physically in the new Tropicana Field, I don't care. Like, until you break ground, I don't care. So the stadium vote, which is next week, where they say yes or no, till I see a yes or no and I see breaking ground and I can walk into it, I don't care until you get it done, because it's a broken record. And that's all. And that's all we've been hearing about. Oh yeah, we're gonna get it done. Oh, we're gonna get it done this week. Oh yeah, it's like
yeah.
The fact that they're not all I care about is, and when I say this, I do wish Montreal get another opportunity down the line, but I have to say, thank God that.
Don't get me started on that sister shitty thing. Don't get me started on that.
That would have been just a complete nightmare if that would have happened. So thank God.
I think the one thing that I love about Tropicana Field, though, is that when you first walk into that, it's like so picturesque.
Yeah, the main center field area when you first walk
that main center field area where you have like great photo ops and everything. Yep. We have a couple great family photos right there. And when it's Star Wars Day and you walk in and Darth Vader's there and the Wookiee's there, or Chewbacca, and all that kind of cool stuff. But the really big guy that's like hanging out of the wall trying to catch a ball, like, that's the coolest thing in the world to me. I know that it's probably like super 90s, but I don't care. It's really cool. And it was the very first major league ball field that I've ever gone to. So to me, it's like, it's very like, sentimental also. So
yeah, I've seen the changes that they've done throughout the years. I remember like when I first used to go, that center field area, which is now like the I don't know what they call it now. I think it's called the porch now, where it's the open area. You can go and get your beers. Well, that used to be like a restaurant in the middle of center field.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that used to be a restaurant. You could go in, sit down, and watch the game through like pane glass, and you could watch the game while you're eating like dinner or lunch or whatever. But now they took that out. I like the porch area a lot better. I mean, it's really cool. It's open air. You can just kind of hang out and stand around and drink beer and watch the game. But yeah, back in the day, it was a enclosed restaurant in the center field area. It was really weird. It was very weird, yeah. But just to kind of see the evolution of how Tropicana Field has, what they've done to make it better and more accessible, more family friendly and everything. They have gone out of their way to make it a semi better stadium. And I know a lot of the national media proclaims it one of the worst stadiums in the league. I don't know about that. We have like trying to watch baseball in the summertime in Florida would be god awful, especially with the humidity and the heat. So to have an indoor stadium, like I think that's pretty cool. It's 72 degrees. I'm okay with that. Like we don't have to worry about rain delays. We don't have to worry about any kind of inclement weather unless you're outside trying to get into the stadium. But to call one of the worst, I don't see it. I mean, I've been to the Coliseum, and that's one of the armpits of the world, and that's one of the worst stadiums in the league is the Coliseum. And I'm glad that the A's are finally, getting out of there. So
yeah, a lot of people do hate on the stadium. Oh yeah, baseball's meant to be played outdoors. I'm like, yeah, but it's Florida. 90% of the season wouldn't happen if we were playing outdoors. It would every game would
11 a.m. games.
Yeah, we can't have this series because a hurricane's coming, so we have to delay this till later on. Yeah, so
we don't have a choice. It's the best we got.
One thing that just bothers me a lot is the whole, the attendance numbers. They're always in the bottom. Okay. Like let's just take, for example, any kind of event and you have a lot of people spread out. Like, do you want to see, yes, they know they don't sell the upper level. I think they sold it one Yankee series a couple of years back. But what they do is they recognize, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe our attendance numbers aren't this team, but we're going to send $10 tickets, not to sit in the sky. We're going to allow you to sit like field level by right field, left field line for $10. You can afford to bring the family.
Yep.
You can afford to park. It's $20. We went to Fenway. Thank God we took the green line. It was set. They wanted $70 to park, but so you can actually afford to go to a baseball game a couple of times. Like what we decided to do is, we made a mistake last year or 2 years ago where we got the $10 tickets, but we live about 3 hours away, and with traffic and stuff, wound up being like a 4.5 hour procedure to get into the stadium. And so we said, okay, we're not going to pick one game in April and one in June anymore. We're going to just pick a series, and hopefully August, September will be when we get to go this year. But there's just something to say, like when you're there, it doesn't match what the media says. Like when you're there, it looks packed. Like yes, there's no one up there, but left to right, peripheral view, there's people everywhere, and they're having a good time. And it's not like Tampa's not like it used to be back in the Devil Ray days where 90% of the fan base is for the other team. Like there's the majority of the fan base now are Tampa Bay Ray fans. And I'm just kind of tired of that narrative where it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's a great place to be, to watch a game. And you got to go to Ferg's before you go in the stadium. You have to, even though their menu is like limited, it's like
I think there's a lot of media bias, especially when it comes to trying to talk good about the Rays because of what they perceived is this whole stadium. Nobody's coming to the games. Last year's playoff game against the Rangers didn't help when it wasn't sold out in an afternoon. But there's so many factors you can put into that game alone. You're putting this game at I think it was a 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock start in the afternoon during like a regular work day with school still being in session, and then you try to have a playoff game. So it didn't help because you don't have the regular Bally Sports broadcast. You have a national broadcast of this game, and there was a lot of jokes when that game happened. But we've seen an uptick of the attendance go up the past couple of years because of the way they've been creative with ticket prices and bringing people in with the amount of stuff that they have. And I love the fact that they're doing the concert series stuff again, which they used to do a few. I think 5-10 years ago when they were first the Rays coming from the Devil Rays moniker. So that's good, bringing more attendance in. I think with this new stadium that's supposed to be done, they're really looking at it as, okay, we don't have to have a 40,000 seat stadium. We can draw it back to a 25,000 seater, and we can make sure that our games are at least 3/4 of the way sold out, especially during the week. Weekends are a little bit different because you can have more people come, and they're more accessible on the weekends. And I was fortunate enough to be on a few panels about what they were looking for the stadiums, and a lot of the main things that we brought about, especially with the people that were invited to these things, where it's like, look, you don't have to have a huge population. You don't have to have a huge stadium like you don't have to try and compete with the Yankees of the world or the Dodgers of the world. You don't have that because this is relatively still a small market. St. Pete, Tampa is. And you have to look at your demographics too. Coming from Tampa over the Howard Franklin is a nightmare. It is a logistical nightmare, especially in the afternoon. People trying to get off work. There's always accidents on the Howard Franklin.
Always.
So it's always delayed maybe an hour and a half because of traffic. So if you're gonna, I was when they were trying to decide about where they're going to put the stadium, the new one is, look, I've always been a champion of you put it over across the bridge into Tampa. I'm fine with that. It's in a bigger metropolitan area.
Yeah.
You're around the Lightning fans, you're around the Buccaneers fans, and you have that trifecta of now a sports city. If you keep it in St. Pete, that's okay too, but you really have to build a stadium that's going to be open 365 days out of the year. And I'm glad that they finally realized that, where, when baseball season's not happening, you can have events there, you can have concerts, you can have, rec leagues there. You can have all kinds of cool things that happen and not have to worry about the Rays being your number one draw. So I'm glad that they finally realized that you were trying to compete with the big dogs of the world when you didn't have to. You can be a small dog in the market and still have those numbers. I mean, look, this past weekend against the Guardians, I think it was in five figures. You had, 15, 16,000 people there, which is pretty good. I think they had 21,000 today for the Sunday game too as well. So think about that. If you had a 25,000, seater on your new stadium, you have 21,000 people there. That's almost sold out. You have a population that's, you have lots of butts in the seats. So I think if this gets done, if it gets approved this coming week, I think I saw the renderings for the new stadium. It's beautiful. Hopefully they build it to what the renderings were. It looks great. But like I said before, until they break ground and say yes, and I can walk through it, I'm just like, it is what it is. I don't care.
Yeah. It's always quality over quantity, like you said, you don't have to have the biggest and best stadium. But the one thing I love about the Rays Stadium is it's fun. It is fun to go to games. Like, they're playing music, they're, doing the songs, and people are standing up and cheering and everything. It's a fun atmosphere to be in. And that to me is, I've gone to a Marlins game. It was the most boring game. I was just sitting there like, what is going on? I felt like I was in a museum.
Well, the Marlins just don't think right.
Fun atmosphere.
I think they finally got that eyesore that was in center field when they built the new stadium out of there. So that's one thing. I agree with you, Eileen. It's a fun stadium to go to. Ordering food is really great because you can just go to the kiosks and just punch in what you want. You wait for your order, pick it up. Same with getting drinks and everything too. So they've really made it fan friendly where, you're not having to wait in long lines. You can go get your drinks, come back to your seats before the inning starts. So I think with this new stadium now there's going to be more technology available to make it even better too. So that way it's more family friendly, more accessible to everybody to come in and have an enjoyable experience. And I think it is time for the Rays to have an updated stadium, and especially with now how stadiums are evolving. Look at the Atlanta Braves in Battery Park. I mean, that stadium is beautiful. So, you look at the stadiums that have been updated or the new ones that have been built up, they've really made it to where it's now the newer generations that are coming to the baseball games is really catered to them and their families that are coming in. And Mike, like you said before, like the populations that come in now to Rays games, it's the newer generations of Rays fans that have been homegrown and then have, gone to the games when they were kids, and now they're bringing their kids to the games, which is really special. So,
yeah, I thought, as we start to short on time and starting to close things out, I kind of want to deviate away from where I was going to go. What I would like to kind of chat about is, so we talked about, the upcoming postseason and, and what Tampa Bay has to do to get there. Want to get your thoughts first, and then we'll go to you, Eileen. In terms of, so when you're watching, you watch your team, 162 games a season, God willing, or as close to it as you can, and you get invested in the homegrown announcers and whatnot. And then what happens, we all have to, you're all subject to the Apple TV broadcast, and we can't watch that one. And,
they're god. Other than Trisha Whitaker, who's on there for Friday night games, like, they are god awful.
Yeah. It's just, it's better.
I watched Friday night's game against the Guardians on Apple TV, and half the time I wanted to punch myself in the face or stab myself with a pencil in the ear.
Maybe next time you need to play Shinedown in the background.
I don't know.
Mute the TV, and
it was brutal the way these guys were they were terrible. I wanted to stab myself with a pencil in the ear. They were that bad.
Yeah, they were that bad. So where I was going with that is just, I understand the need for the national syndicates for the playoffs and whatnot, but it just feels, they get us there. They get us to the 163rd potential game and onward, and then we don't see them anymore unless, there's a few, I'm a Mets fan, so Ron Darling gets to do a couple broadcasts here and there. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of, I understand, the whole process, but there's something too, these are the guys we've heard when the Rays hit a home run, when they do this play, that's the voice we want, and we don't get that when the games matter the most.
I think they should at least have our broadcast crew of Dwayne Stats and Brian Anderson at least do the wild card game if they make the wild card, or at least the divisional series. And then, once that's over and hey, they move on to like the ALCS and the World Series, then you have your national broadcasters step in and do their thing. But I think for the homegrown guys that we're used to hearing on the day-to-day basis, I think they should have the opportunity to at least get the first or second round of the playoffs. That way, it's more familiarity, and they're able to experience broadcasting a playoff baseball game on national TV. So I think I think they should do that. Just that way we don't have to suffer through the national media who hates the Rays when it comes to baseball. So
yeah, but
I think that's so right, because it's like I feel like when the Rays because like they're a good baseball team, even on the days where they're not performing very well, they're still really good. And they try really hard. And like for me, if you're gonna go down swinging. And so, like, and
I don't know, Eileen, it's been frustrating with runners in scoring position this year. They've been really atrocious when it comes to, I think on the Saturday night game, they left so many guys on base.
Oh, yeah, that makes me yell at the TV
it was frustrating. You guys had so many opportunities. It's like, and it's been their Achilles heel all year is runners in scoring position. They have
guys
not
on bases all year long. Yeah,
all year long. And if they're gonna try and make a run for the playoffs, that is something they have to improve in the second half, because this is your time to turn it on. And if you really want to make a run, you guys got to get runners on and runners in, because leaving the amount of guys on base that they have has just been very frustrating. I've been wanting to break TVs a few times of this year because of that.
Me too. I'll yell at the TV a lot. I haven't gotten to watch a lot of games this last week because we did a lot of stuff at our church. We hosted a vacation Bible school, so I feel like I didn't get to watch a lot of games. And then all of a sudden they've been like they won the series, and I'm like, of course, when I'm not watching.
Well, I think one of the things too of this past series against the Cleveland Guardians, I always want to see.
Yeah,
I know that's hard.
They didn't score that many runs to beat the Guardians, and they didn't. And if you're going into a playoff series, and we saw this last year and the year before last, the first round they didn't score any runs. So they have to score runs against the better teams. Cleveland is one of the best teams in the league. I think they only scored like 6 or 7 runs throughout the 3-game series. So you got to score a little bit more than that, especially going against, your Baltimore Orioles of the world, and especially the New York Yankees too. So they really have to get the offensive production up. And, like I said before earlier on the show, is like, if they're going in the trade market and looking to make a move, offense is where you got to go to help out. So we'll see.
Yeah. Now, and then I wanted to close with this, get your thoughts on this last topic. So one of the successes, I'll use Baltimore here for an example. One of their successes is they'll throw their lineup there, maybe a couple adjustments here and there, but for the most part, you get your guys 1 through 6 every day, who's plugged in. Tampa Bay is notorious for so many different lineups. I'm not going to say 162 different lineups, but probably 160.
Feels like it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. It keeps them guessing. It's all right.
It keeps
them
guessing.
That too. I think it keeps them guessing. 2, but the downside is I feel like the team hasn't gotten into a routine. They're not able to gel. And that's why we're seeing a little bit of the inconsistency where, they're real streaky because they're not in their groove.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. And one of the things that frustrates me with Kevin Cash sometimes is he tries to be too analytical when you should just be a baseball manager and managed by your baseball instincts. And, I'm not going to go back to that one significant play where he pulled somebody way too early in one of the games of the World Series, where it was all analytical and it was all matchups, to where you shouldn't rely on those types of things, especially in baseball. Is go let them play baseball. And when it comes to the lineups too, there's some head scratchers that they've been doing this past year where it's like, man, just play baseball. Stop doing the whole analytic stuff and stop doing the whole matchup thing. Just play baseball and just manage a baseball team.
Yeah, and that's with Aaron Savelli, like his downside. The second that he would get to face the leadoff hitter for the 3rd time, yank every single time. And granted, he didn't give him a great reason to trust him, because that's usually when he would falter. but that's
been one of
unfortunately.
the trades that every Rays fans across Rays Nation has been applauding because it was just time for him to go. It was like,
I think so
we're
too.
done.
I was done with him. I was done with him before. Like
Yep.
I heard I was no. And then Mike was like, no, he's not that bad. And I'm like,
Nah, he's that bad.
the same game I am? Like,
when we went to Boston to Fenway and we met some family there, they brought a individual who was actually he was a younger teenager, but he was the next door neighbor to Aaron Savelli up in Long Island or in New York. And he was explaining like he was not happy to be when he got the word that he was going to be with Tampa. He was actually very not happy with that decision. But obviously he's a gamer. But it seems like with the lineup sometimes it felt like guys like Palacios would be like, I'm going to insert him in the lineup every day, no matter what. And then all of a sudden he would disappear for a week. And then before Ramirez was traded, it was like, hey, he's on the roster still. Like he used to be in it. He used to be the guy. And then he took a diet a little bit this year. And then you'd forget he was on the roster. So it just seemed like it was just pick some, okay, this is the guy we're going to run with for a week, see what happens. I just like to see a little bit more consistency. The bench is a bench for a reason. I know it takes 25, 26 men to win, but, we don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. Let's at least a couple, especially some of the big series. Let's keep the core in there. I remember watching a game, and I think it was a Rosarina, and both Laos not in the lineup, and I was just like, "What are we doing?" That we would never. You wouldn't see a Phillies game where Schwarber, Harper, if they're all healthy, and Castellanos are not in the lineup. So like, what are we doing? So, but I just again wanted to thank you. And once again, if you could just let listeners know where they can find you once more. Enjoyed having you on, and then we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, you can find me at the Sick podcast, Rays Rewind on YouTube. Hit that subscribe notification bell when new episodes drop. Same shameless plug. And then you can find me on X or Twitter, however they call it now, at the Bushman. So take a look out for that. Are we gonna do the Mount Rushmore thing?
Yeah, we can. Let's do that. Let's close
Eileen,
I
want to hear Eileen's Mount Rushmore of all-time Rays players first before I do
all-time Rays players. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's put Longoria on there.
That's an obvious one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's put Kevin Kiermaier on there.
Okay.
He's not the best ball player, but he had the heart. All right. He was all.
He wasn't the best. Wasn't the best hitter.
No.
Like defensive wise, top notch.
But yeah, heart and hustle is big time for me. Definitely Randy Arozarena. He's my guy. He's gonna be my guy wherever he goes. I'm gonna follow him. Okay. And let's see who else. I don't know. So the last one would be a tie. At first, I did not like Siri. I thought he was a showboater. I thought he was a little arrogant. But then I saw how he acts in Boston, like up close and personal. He's really he's a big old sweetheart. He's a softie. But I also love Jose Caballero. I feel like he's been playing his heart out this season. And so that's a hard one.
Okay.
Caballero.
I'm gonna go a little older generations. I'll go obviously Evan Longoria. We'll do Sir Carlos Pena, David Price, and then should we go old school with Fred McGriff or Wade Boggs because they were there, but we'll do those guys, and then I'll throw in Rocco Baldelli too. He was supposed to be one of the faces of the franchise. He didn't pan out, but he was exciting to see when I got to see him play. So we'll put those guys on there. Okay. There's so many, it's like hard to choose from, but those will be the guys that I put up on there.
Yeah,
especially
Longoria. I echo 3 of those 4 myself, and could easily agree with you on the 4th. I feel
maybe James Shields too. Big game.
James Shields, another one. Yeah, I think unfortunately the way the current roster is, we're too early into that to see if a Bilal or others are on that list. But I'm going to go
because they're usually traded within a couple of years.
Yeah. That's the hard thing. It's it's hard to really start getting behind a player because they're gone. Like Austin Meadows was phenomenal, and then bam, he's gone, and it's okay.
Yeah, but Eileen, look how that turned out though. We got Isaac Paredes, and Austin Meadows has been out of the league because of mental illness, and Isaac Paredes has been nothing but an offensive juggernaut for the team. So kind of worked out a little bit.
Yes, I guess.
A little bit.
But so for me, I'll go Longoria, I'll go David Price, I'll go Carlos Pena. And then I would say Carl Crawford would get the fourth.
Oh
one.
yeah,
Kind of close.
I totally
Yeah.
forgot about Carl Crawford. Yep.
Crawford. Now the two right underneath there for me, one is more known than the other, but I'm going to go Ben Zobrist is like runner up. So my four are Longoria, Pena, Price, and Crawford, but Zobrist. And the other one, not as well known, but I felt like he was as good as could be in a short period of time. He's too short of a window to be able to include him on the list, but Scott Kazmir was another name that he was as good as they could be, but just not enough length in there to include him. But we'll give him an honor.
Imagine him being in that rotation as a healthy Scott Kazmir in his prime, and you have him in that same rotation as Price, Shields. Oh man, that'd be like, and put Garza in there too, like that rotation.
Yes. And let's close one more thing. Can't go without mentioning this. My all-time though Rays moment. So Eileen had fallen asleep. It was it was World Series game, but I miss Phillips so much just for what he meant to the team. Obviously, production wasn't there and all that kind of stuff, but to see that play unfold in that World Series game, I remember jumping out of the bed and trying not to wake her up, but I'm also like fist bumping in the air, and they're not even my team, quote unquote. But it was just such an exciting play to watch. Just miss having him around. Yeah.
My podcast at the time, we were live we were doing a live broadcast at that time when in real time when that happened. So there's been moments of that where I was jumping out of my chair as the live broadcast was going, which is kind of cool. And then I go back to the game 162. And then of course, when they clinched their first World Series berth, I remember those moments like it's, like it was yesterday. So those are beautiful moments for the team.
Yes. Awesome. So thank you for being on with us. All the listeners, again, thank you, Chris Bennett, National Tax Solutions, for supporting us, believing in us. Hopefully we're sitting here July 14th, right after the All-Star break. Tampa Bay comes out swinging. I'd love to see them do some damage in the postseason. They can get there. Just believe they make the right moves, and the guys just get healthy. So thanks, everyone, once again. And until next time, we'll see you around the ballpark. Thank you, guys.